Working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Roy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for You is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for You.
Good afternoon and welcome to another Working for You program. I am your host, Roy Williams. Today we are going to be talking something that is very essential and very important to St. Kitts and Nevis and the Caribbean as a whole, as most of the Caribbean islands are involved in some form or fashion in the services industry. The tourism industry plays a very pivotal role in our small island developing states' economies. And today I have with me officials who work within the tourism industry, within the hospitality sector. And we have going on right now in St. Kitts a workshop, a Hospitality Assured Certification Assessors Training Program going on at the Ocean Terrace Inn. It started on the 26th of February and it ends on the 2nd of March. I have with me to share about the program that is going on here at the OTI and other aspects in terms of the hospitality, the tourism industry. I have with me Mrs. Sharon Banfield Bovell.
Good afternoon.
Who is the co-facilitator and regional human resource development consultant at the Caribbean Tourism Organization. Welcome to this program.
Thank you for having me.
We're happy to have you. I also have with me Mr. John Hanley, who has come across the channels to be here with us from the sister island, Nevis, and he is the acting permanent secretary in the Nevis Ministry of Tourism. Welcome, Mr. Hanley.
Thank you.
And I have with me Mr. Chris Jeter, who is the general manager of the Ocean Terrace Inn, where the workshop is being held. Okay, so let us start the ball rolling. The Hospitality Assured Certification Assessors Training Program. What is it?
Okay, for me to be able to answer that question, I have to give you a little background
Sure.
to what the Hospitality Assured Certification Program is. Now, Hospitality Assured is a business and service excellence program. It recognizes as well as promotes businesses that are performing to the standard of excellence as it relates to customer service delivery. And it is also a program which seeks to inculcate in our tourism sector in the region a culture. So we want to inculcate a culture of service excellence. So we're not just talking about, one-off. We're looking at consistent delivery of excellent service. So this program is one that the Caribbean Tourism Organization has. We annually pay a fee to the owners of the program, which is the Institute of Hospitality in the United Kingdom, through their management team, which is the Hospitality Limited. We pay to be able to roll this program out in the Caribbean region. So in 2007, when we started, we paid a 3-year fee, signed a contract, which gave us the ability to utilize this program in the Caribbean region. We saw the value of the program. We believe strongly in what the advantages it could bring, and therefore we have been Every year, we've been renewing that contract with the United Kingdom to be able to use this program in the Caribbean. So the program has two key support personnel. Business advisors, and business advisors go into the businesses and they work with the businesses and take them through the journey. The program is made up of 9 steps, 9 key areas that have 44 criteria or 44 requirements which a business must undertake. And as you mentioned, we have Mr. Chris Jeter here, the general manager at the Ocean Terrace Inn, and he'll be able to give you some insight from the perspective of a business that is currently on the Hospitality Assured journey. He will be able to provide those insights. So the business advisor is one support personnel. We have with us Mrs. Euphemia Bryce Roberts. She is actually a business advisor for St. Kitts in our pool of business advisors. So she works with the companies and she takes them through the 44 criteria towards their helping to prepare them for that state of assessment. And when they're ready, they then indicate to the CTO, we are ready for being assessed. The other support personnel are assessors, and we are currently training 21 individuals from 13 Caribbean countries to become assessors so that we can increase our pool of assessors. We currently only have 14 in our pool. If these 21 are successful, we are able to increase the numbers of assessors we have to be able to assist us with going into those businesses like OTI, who when they're ready for assessment, we can send an assessor, an external assessor in to assess if they are meeting the requirements of the program. So business advisors on one hand, business assessors, and we're training business assessors in this workshop that we're currently holding at the OTI.
Sure. Before we go any further, I want to welcome to this program Mrs. Euphemia Bryce Roberts of Bryce Roberts Business Consultancy Services and Hospitality Assured Business Advisor. So we have one of the advisors here.
Yes.
And I think you're an advisor now to Mr. Hanny. You're an assessor.
He's an assessor.
He's an assessor.
Correct.
So we have assessor,
an
advisor,
Correct.
and so on. Now, the program is hinged, if I must say that, on 9 key steps. Those key steps are identified to achieve service and business excellence. Could you tell us what these 9 key steps are?
Okay, so the 9 key steps, let me just start by saying, all allow for a business to look at its operations in a holistic manner. The program is all about looking at customer service through the customer's eyes. Okay? However, the program is addressing these 9 steps from the perspectives of not only the customer but also the employee and the organization.
Yes.
And what do we mean by that? There are aspects that the organization, there are things that the organization has to ensure are in place in order for service delivery to take place and to take place effectively. There are things that need to be in place for the employees, for them to be equipped with the necessary skills and competencies to be able to help to deliver on the quality service that we're looking for. And then, of course, the customer has to provide the feedback in terms of their wants and needs so that that organization, that business is able to, again, deliver on quality service.
Right.
So we start there. Program looks at it from 3 key perspectives, but all towards ensuring that we have quality services in place. Our first step is the customer research. Critical. You have to understand your customer. You have to understand their needs in order to be able to meet those needs. Correct? Right. Our second step is the customer service promise. Each business in the tourism and hospitality sector, it promises its customers something or a number of things, and we see that in the marketing. So we want to make sure that when you promise something that you're going to live up to it. You're promising comfort, you're promising friendliness, you're promising efficiency, reliability. You have to deliver on your promise. Do what you say that you will do. Our third step is business leadership and planning. And that looks at now from the organizational perspective, what kind of leadership is in place to ensure that the things that ought to be done are being done. Working with your staff, providing opportunities for training and development, succession planning, looking at the resources of a business and making sure that those resources can adequately meet your customers' needs. All of those things go into the leadership and the business planning aspect. That's when the program allows the business to look at its business plan to ensure that it's what's the term? It's actually addressing all of the necessary components: financial, human resources, marketing,
comprehensive.
Yes, a comprehensive business plan. The fourth step is operational planning and standards of performance. Again, another heavy area which Mr. Jito would be able to testify to. Again, looking at all the operational procedures that have to underpin what needs to be done. So it's one thing to say that your employees must go out there and deliver on the service, but the things that need to be there to support that need to be in place. Do we have a clear understanding of responsibilities and accountabilities, and are we providing opportunities for people to develop and to meet the growing needs in the organization? So that step tends to look at that. Step 5, resources. And you realize so far that as I speak, these steps are all interdependent, right? So resources, what are the resources that are in place to meet the required service that you're seeking to deliver? Tied back with that promise that you have made, do you have the resources, whether it's the human resources that are necessary, and have you worked through in your business plan in step 4, if it's peak period, your staffing numbers must increase, versus when it's a lower period of activity, you don't need as many staff. So all of these things are addressed in step 5. That was step 5, right? Yes.
That was
step 6 is training and development. And as I said earlier, the focus is on the employees. It's making sure we tool them, we equip them with the tools and the information necessary for them to be able to effectively do their jobs, right? So that's in our training and development. We want to make sure that there are training plans in place. There are opportunities for looking at succession planning. All of those things are addressed in that step. Step 7 is service delivery.
Yes.
I'm testing myself.
Yes. You're
service
going well.
Delivery. How we're going about delivering the service. Step 8 is service recovery. One of the things that the program insists on is that we have a sense of when things go wrong, how do we, in a timely manner, address those issues, and then seek to ensure that there's not recurrence. And then our final step, step 9, is customer satisfaction. Am I correct?
Yes, it's improvement.
Customer satisfaction improvement.
So that would come from the feedback from the customers, of course, to know where to improve.
Exactly, and making sure that when they get the feedback, as happens very often, you collect feedback, and then is there anything that's done with it? The program ensures that when you collect the data, it should inform the improvements in your organization, in your business. So it's a very holistic program. It's birthed from the Institute of Hospitality in the United Kingdom, would have modeled this program off of a program that's called the European Foundation for Quality Management. And it's just, no, it was skewed specifically for the tourism and hospitality sector. It used simpler language so that we could address those issues that would allow for a business to look at itself and say, well, we are doing these things and we're doing them well. Those are the strengths, and these are things that we need to improve upon.
Now, how many persons do you have involved in this workshop?
How in the actual
Yes,
workshop
yes,
for the
yes.
assessors, we have so I'm one of the facilitators, and the lead facilitator is Mrs. Janice Smith Kipps, and she is one of our experienced assessors. She's been with us from the beginning of the program in 2007. She's leading us through that process. We have 21 participants, and most of the countries that are involved are already in the program, but are seeking to roll out the program in a more systematic way. So they're making sure that the key personnel they have to have in place to support the program rollout is in place. So most of them already have business advisors, but they were lacking assessors, or lacking the number of assessors they would need to be able to roll out the program in the way that they see fit for their countries.
Right. Now, tourism covers a wide range of sectors, really. Who are some of your target people within the tourism industry?
For this
the
program?
Hospitality, yes, for the program.
So in terms of who could become involved in
Yes.
the Hospitality Assured program. So anyone that falls under that wide umbrella that you discussed, you so rightly noted, of tourism and hospitality. We have 79 businesses that are currently in the program. 33 of those to date have successfully certified Hospitality Assured. We have from accommodation to food and beverage establishments. We have dive shops. We have attractions. We have tour companies, taxi companies that specifically work for the tourism sector. We have a tourism hospitality institute in there. So it's kind of a broad area, as you so rightly said. And so those are the ones who are eligible to be part of the program. They could be small, they could be large, they could be luxury, they could be, if they're doing a rating, they could be a 1-star. It doesn't matter. They could be multi-operational once they fall under that ambit of tourism and hospitality.
So you are bringing together two components, really that of service and that of the entrepreneurial aspect, because tourism is business.
Yes, it is.
But it's not just business, it's a business where you're offering a service.
Yes.
And that service must be of a top class.
In order for us to compete.
To compete. It must be a quality service.
Correct, yes.
From the people who are the craft vendors, all the way up to the big hotels, the Park Hyatt, and so on. People must, because if you're not delivering that top service, you're going to lose business.
Exactly. The equation is simple,
yes,
right?
the
It's
equation is
simple.
simple. You know, no quality service, your business dips.
Yes.
You know, so you have to put in place all those things where people can improve their delivery of the service so that their business can be boosted.
Exactly.
Right. So I think I'm getting it.
Yes, you are indeed. You are.
I think I'm getting it. Now, Mr. Hanley, you have been through the workshop. What was it like for you going through the workshop, and how has participating in this workshop helped you? I mean, you're now with in the Ministry of Tourism in Nevis as the acting permanent secretary. How has it helped you, having gone through the program?
Well, I have been with this program for about 3 years now. The last training session that was held was in Trinidad. I've always been a strong proponent of the Hospitality Assured program. I think it augurs well for the tourism and hospitality industries. Its emphasis on service excellence, business excellence, I think that is exactly what we need in a destination such as St. Kitts and Nevis. As you quite rightly emphasized a moment ago, if we do not get it, if we don't get that particular concept, then we would be lost in the competition. And believe you me, the competition out there is very, very strong. And a small destination such as ours, the emphasis on quality and not just being good, but being excellent, as our good advisor, Mr. Hugh Wint, would always emphasize. We cannot be satisfied with just being good. We have to get to that top level. We have to be superlative in what we are offering. The training exercise itself, it was quite vigorous. I believe we started maybe about 8:30 and we went down until 5, 6 o'clock in the evening because we had a lot of work. We had maybe about 2 months of work to cover in 1 week. But at the end of it, I think we came away very, very much informed and very clear about the expectations of the Hospitality Assured program. The program is rigorous. Anything that is based on a European model is likely to be of a very high standard. And this certainly is the case for the Hospitality Assured program. So I have had a very good experience, a very intense experience with the Hospitality Assured, and of course it has benefited me tremendously.
Good. Now, Mr. Jeter, you are the general manager of the Ocean Terrace Inn, which of course is a
Host.
Yes, it is the host. It is the host of the workshop, but it is more than just the host of the workshop. It's a business actually, and you're the general manager. Now, in terms of the delivery of the service, you are involved in that day in and day out.
That's right.
Because at the end of the day, you have to ensure that your customers are satisfied with the service that OTI delivers. As general manager, how do you ensure that customers are satisfied with your service? What goes into it?
Yes. Well, thank you, Mr. Williams, and good afternoon to my fellow panelists. I think I bear no pressure. To my left, I have my business advisor, and to my right, I have a potential assessor. And we also have Sharon, who is one of the key facilitators. I think one of the things I want to point out before I, answer the question, for anyone out there who is listening or looking at this program today, there are two takeaways from this program here today. Should be for them. One is, if you want your business to go to the next level, Hospitality Assured is the module you need to get with it. You need to find out exactly what it's about, get to understand the 9 key principles that is going to take your organization to the next level. And secondly, I really do hope we are able to convince the listeners that Hospitality Assured is really a program that every aspect of the tourism industry, every business within the tourism industry, they should partner with and try as much as possible to ensure their staff with all that it entails. I think more than anything is, for us at Ocean Terrace Inn, we took a top-down approach. And by this I mean we engage all our team members. So the team leaders, the management, they engage the team members. And we created satellite groups where we gave a different part of the program of the 9 principles. We gave different groups principles to study and to get all the necessary information, to gather the data, to understand the service values, to go into the philosophy of the company, understanding the vision, the mission. So we really took that top-down approach to make sure that everybody understood exactly what we all are trying to achieve. And I think more than anything is that what came true more than anything is the ability to not just know the staff that works with you, but also know their potential. And so we have an organization, or the team at the OTI, who is steadfastly engaging all the different principles, making sure everybody is well sensitized and everybody's on the same page. And through this, we are at the stage where we are in the finalization stage, where once the business advisor agrees, we invite the assessor in, and we ensure that we deliver that which is expected of us, not just as a hotel, but as individuals, even in the communities and the places that we will go to, understand that the service delivery, the expectations, the importance that should be played on customers, it's really the focus, and so everybody achieves.
Right. On one hand, we speak about the focus being on the customers, and at the end of the day, the customers being satisfied with the service
Yes.
that you provide, the service that you deliver. But sometimes the people who are working within the business, they themselves are not satisfied. They are not satisfied with the conditions
Yes.
under which they work. They are not satisfied with management and so on, and it would affect
The outcomes.
the outcomes,
Yes.
the delivery of that service.
Right.
How important to you is the human relations approach in getting the best service?
If you treat your employees as guests, they will treat your guests as guests. If you don't involve them in every step of the processes, what the desired results should be, if you don't give them sufficient benefits and empower them so they see the business is not just the business on its own, but the employees are part of the business, you will not have everybody heading in the same direction. So it's key. The employee is the most important asset in the business, and so you must have programs, whether or not it's employee of the month, whether or not it's day in the life of a GM program, whether or not it's a star of the week contribution. You must have the recognitions internally that not just exposes them to what the guest is expecting, but also they themselves as guests, when they get out there, what else to expect, what they should expect as a standard, as the norm. And I think
Right.
that's the approach we have taken.
Right.
And can I add to
Sure.
that? Because we've seen it within the testimonies from the businesses that are in the program. The program requires that employees are involved in this process from the beginning to the end. Because when the assessor comes in, they have to know what hospitality assured is. They have to understand the various steps that the business have gone through to meet the criteria. They need to be able to recite the customer service promise. So during the process, during the time that the business works with the business advisor, there is going to be that the business advisor will remind them your staff needs to be aware. So whether they use unit meetings or they use in memos, or they place things on computers, or in whatever meeting minutes that reminds everyone of the common purpose, why we're here, what we're doing, and that filters throughout those 9 steps. So what you find at the end of the day, we hear businesses saying, okay, outside of feeling now that we have this perfect service quality management framework in place, guess what? Our staff are working so much better together. They are happy. They are satisfied because now they're the customer base. They're the internal customer base, and they are satisfied because they are giving input. And Euphemia can support me on that. They are giving input into this journey that their organization is going on. This allows them to become more involved, and then more, the word is vested. They have a vested interest in what's going on in the organization because it's being shared with them.
Yes.
And things are not hidden. You're not going out there wondering, why am I doing what I'm doing? You can't relate it to anything. You don't know why your role is important. But when you share with them, these are your roles and these are why this is what you do and why it's so important to how we deliver the service, or whatever the case may be, then they start to connect the dots and feel part of the process. And this is what the framework requires. So it's a guarantee that when a business steps out and finishes this process, their staff feels a sense of inclusiveness. We participated in this process, and they're a lot more satisfied, and
Yes.
the interaction is a lot better. They've been testifying the businesses between management and staff, and so those are the things that they have to look forward
Absolutely.
to.
Right. Now, Mrs. Bryce Roberts. I suppose that you and your competence in your field, consultancy services and so on, that you would do training and development. Am I correct? Are you involved in training and development?
Yes, my business is involved in training and development.
Yes.
But with regard to the Hospitality Assured program, that is not a direct input.
Sure.
It is really, my experience comes in terms of guiding, helping the staff, helping the management team as they go forward. What I thought, following up from Ms. Banfield as she was speaking, I thought the whole idea of the program, and what I really love about it, is the holistic, integrated approach. I note, for example, yes, you said my business involved in training or asked, and I think it's a tendency that our organizations have. From the time an employee is not operating as the managers would think they ought to, immediately send them on training. And what is clear is that it is not just about training. It's about a systemic approach. It's about taking that broad approach, and that's one of the very good things about the program. The practical aspect also I really appreciate is in terms of making the mission work, making the values work. It's not unusual for organizations to have vision statements on the wall, mission statements on the wall, values on the wall. But if you're to ask the staff, what is the mission statement? People start looking on the wall. People.
Yes.
The program, it encourages persons to really know the mission, to
Have
really
it in their
have it in their
heart.
hearts, and so much that it becomes a part of the day-to-day palace. For example, even recently while I was by OTI, I was really taken up with one of the it was a member on the management team would have done something, and then another member said, but wait, is that in keeping with our core values? And
Okay,
so
good.
this is the kind of thing that we're really looking at for persons to live and speak the mission, vision, and core values. And I think this program really helps in that direction.
Right. Because at the end of the day, that is what is really going to drive you to do what you do. The values that you have. Because people can look at your behavior within the business. People can look at your attitude. And as you correctly said, that person has, but these are not our core values. That is not what we strive.
What we represent.
What we represent. You know,
May I?
Sure.
I would like another, working again with the Ocean Terrace Inn, I thought what came out forcibly for me was the idea of the management team working together, and that because even in terms of the meetings that we would have various managers chairing at different points in time, and so I think it helps build capacity, and so that is another strong point I think of the program.
right.
Good point.
Good point. Now, how many persons, well, I think you answered that before, from how many countries are represented here?
In the actual
In the
assessor
actual,
workshop?
yes.
Right. I think I said it, did I? I did it.
I can't recall.
There's
you saying
13.
it.
I think they said 13.
There are 13
Including
countries.
St. Kitts and Nevis. Yes,
Uh-huh.
correct. 13 countries.
So what are those countries?
We have Antigua, Bahamas, Belize, the British Virgin Islands, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, Montserrat, as I said, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Turks and Caicos Islands.
Turks
so
and
those
Caicos.
are all represented at the workshop this week.
Right.
And I just wanted to share with you, and I think it would be remiss of me not to mention that we are able to do this workshop because we have partnered with the Caribbean Development Bank. We shared this program with them, the Hospitality Assured program, and what it seeks to achieve in terms of being able to truly make the tourism and hospitality sector in the Caribbean region more competitive. And to help to build more robust, help our businesses to build more robust facilities and be more efficient right, in terms of their operations. And the CDB said, we want to assist because in their own programming, under a program they have, this is the CTC, it's called the Caribbean Technological Consultancy Services Network. And actually with us during the course of this week is the CTCS Network Operations Officer, Mr. Michel Thomas, who's with us for the week. They said we target micro, small, medium businesses, and we want to help them to put the systems and the processes in place to be able to deliver,
Yes.
okay, and deliver effectively. And so they've come on board for this program. They're actually sponsoring the workshop. They sponsor the participation of the participants that came from overseas, but also very importantly is something that they're doing for the region. They're starting first with a handful of countries where they have put funding in place to support a number of businesses who want to become hospitality assured. They're willing to pay for the services of the business advisory. Remember I said two core components of the program: business advisory services and assessor services. And then there's an administrative fee for CTO to pull that all together and to facilitate and facilitate the process and connect the dots. And the CDB has given us a substantial amount of money to put 30 businesses through the program. And we have so far, and that's a project that started in June 2017, and it's going to end in June 2018. To date, we have 11 businesses in the program who are on their way. Actually, a couple of them are actually ready for assessment and have advised the Caribbean Tourism Organization accordingly. But we have 19 spaces remaining. As it pertains to the project that the CDB is supporting us with. Now, Hospitality Assured is open to everybody, as I mentioned to you, large, small, in between. However, with respect to the CDB specific assistance that they're providing, they are assisting micro, small, medium. So businesses right now in the tourism sector that are, if you're an accommodation provider and you're 50 rooms or less, you can qualify for that funding. If you're outside of the accommodation sector, so any other business, any other subsector, you can qualify if you have 50 employees or less. So that's their requirement for getting this funding. And I needed to mention this because I would really like to see St. Kitts and Nevis take advantage of this wonderful opportunity. And I know Mr. Jeter was saying, he wants persons listening to understand the takeaways as it relates to the program and its ability to assist businesses in putting those robust systems in places and taking yourself from one level to the next, taking it up a notch. And so just wanted to make that plug. A big thank you to the Caribbean Development Bank for working with us. We only have up until June 2018. And that time is, of course, ticking away. So we're hoping to be able to fill those other 19 spaces. Currently, St. Kitts and Nevis is one of those countries that is eligible for the funding. And then there are about 4 others. I believe it's Belize, Guyana, Jamaica, and St. Lucia, who are currently able to access this funding. And we know that if we do this and we do it successfully, we get 30 businesses through the program, and they don't have to get in and end June 2018. They just have to start. They have to come into the program before the funding opportunity is gone. So they just have to start before June 2018, and then they have the period of time that is required. For some businesses it's 6 months, for some businesses it's 9, for some it's 12 months. We don't force anybody because we want everyone to go through the journey and be able to address the issues that they need to address, right? So they identify their strengths and the things that they need to put in place, and they take, with the guidance of the advisor, they go through that process of actioning those items to put those things in place. So we give them up to 12 months in order to do so. So there are 19 spaces, and we're going to work closely, as we have been, with the Ministry of Tourism and the Tourism Authority, just to continue to let this be known so that we can get some businesses from St. Kitts and Nevis involved in the program.
Okay. So at the end of the day, the objective is to have businesses certified in the program.
Yes.
And my business being certified, what are the advantages, the benefits of my business being certified?
Straight
Especially in relation to the Caribbean Tourism Organization, which is the umbrella.
Right. So what we are looking at the CTO is just ensuring that we can help our sector to be more competitive. Competition is fierce out there. There's no two ways about it. We're competing with those in the Middle East that have the money to build the islands, Palm Islands, and they can build islands. Not natural. They're not authentic.
Right.
We are still selling ourselves on authenticity, but they can create this. They have the money to create the things. We don't have that kind of money here in our region. We have to therefore compete on the authentic product that we have, whether it's our beaches or our mountains or whatever our natural and cultural assets are, and we have to compete on service quality.
Or human resource.
Our customers have too many choices. Too many choices. And if they're making that decision based on, I had a wonderful experience at OTI, the staff were friendly, I felt so welcomed, or if they had an experience in Nevis at one of the HA certified properties, Nisbay Plantation, and they believe that they can guarantee from the hospitality assured program that they will receive that service again, because the program guarantees consistency in the delivery of quality service. Not today we are here and tomorrow you don't know what to expect, which happens in our region very often. Do not recommend any place because you might get yourself in trouble. This is what people say, because if I said I had a good meal with good service at X restaurant and I send you there and then you call me and said, which restaurant was that again? I went there and I got the opposite. We're speaking about continuous and consistent delivery of quality service, which is what this program stands for. So what we're seeking to do through this program is just to ensure that our sector can compete on quality service in a consistent manner.
Now, after someone has been through the Hospitality Assured program, or the business, and then becomes certified, what kind of follow-up is there? What type of support is there to ensure that the standards, the quality
remains
in place?
So we've thought of that in the program also. See, the program has there's a 2-year period when you're up for recertification, which means you're up for reassessment. The reason for that is that one of the benefits of the program is helping a business to continuously improve. We're talking about continuous improvement. And so one of the strong points of the program, and this is where an assessor comes in. An assessor completes his or her assessment and submits to the Caribbean Tourism Organization their assessment report. That assessment report becomes a value for the business.
Yes.
Why? Because it's not a checklist of things that's saying, yes, you do this right, you do this right, you do this right. Yes, it will identify the business's good practices or strengths, but it really also tackles a key area in the assessment report, which is called areas for consideration.
Yes.
That assessor is going to say for each of those criteria that the business is being assessed against, they will make a recommendation, a suggestion, a consideration. Note the words I'm using. They don't have to do anything, but they're saying we're going to lend our experience to this process of the assessment, and these are areas that you can look at putting in place. Now that becomes of value for the client because you are showing them how they can move from where they are, which is good, they've met the requirements, but how they can get from one stage to the next. And in the development of excellence process, we say you can go from initial stage to developmental stage to maturity stage.
Yes.
So every time you reassess in 2 years' time, you see the continuous improvement of that business or that organization, and that's where it becomes very important to them.
Yeah.
Mr. G.
And if I may, I just wanted to, the question you posed to Sharon with regards to what, as a business, what do you get out of it? While it's very evident that the competition out there is fierce and you have to make sure you are on point and you are poised to deliver with your team, I want to give you another angle of it.
Sure.
So I've always been the GM who have been very conservative about sharing back of the house data. So my financials, the statements, my cost comparisons, my checkbooks, F&B costing, menu engineering. I've always been, very conscious of who I share that
Sure.
information with. Guess what? With this program, in this program, I had to avail the information to my middle management, supervisors, and down to line employees. And yes, I was petrified doing it, but here's what happened. They are able to relate to what happens at the back of the house, statistics, data, how it is managed, how it's disseminated, what do we do with it, and they are able to help me make my life easier. And not only that, if as a business person, I'm very concerned about succession planning. So how do I get persons within my organization to succeed other persons, what I do? So it's also an understanding for them, an appreciation for them, to not only learn something new, but I have to prepare those individuals for the next course in terms of upward mobility.
Yes.
I think that's another part of it that we have to, be very conscious of. Yes.
I'm very happy, Mr. G, to get to that point, because I think it is representative of a number of our organizations in the area. This reluctance to divulge information to even the senior levels. And so while on the one hand we speak about ownership, we want our employees to take ownership of the organization. Their taking ownership is dependent on the amount of information that they're able to get. Yes, we are conscious of the need for confidentiality. That is very important. But for them to really take responsibility for the organization, it is important that a certain level of sharing be done. And so I'm very pleased to hear Mr. G to speak in that.
Yes, yes, and you don't hog all of the information for yourself, because when we share, the better it is for all of us, isn't that so?
Yeah. And you see.
But but there is that element, because we are speaking about competition.
Yes.
Yes.
You see, and so sometimes I want to hold my cards close to my chest because I don't want you to get ahead of me.
Yeah, but we need to realize that the management team, those persons are part of that area that your inner competition, your inner circle.
Yes.
And so therefore, at least the information, it's important to share it with your inner circle.
Absolutely.
Recognizing.
And we are representative of each other.
That is correct.
And what OTI will find is that there's going to be an increase in staff morale because people feel, empowered and excited to be part of the process. The staff retention should be high because people feel, okay, we are family, we work together to achieve the objectives set out in this business plan. I actually know what the objectives are, right? They're not foreign to me. So those are some of the benefits that a business will see, will accrue from this process.
Right.
One of the things I thought, even from the sessions that we would have had in terms of the meetings, I think one could see also the confidence of the managers increasing. So whereas probably it's 10 persons, or say 6 persons may have thought one way and one person thought differently, to the extent I see this person, yes, this person has a view, but feels to a certain extent intimidated by the other 6, then it's a case of that individual being encouraged to share because it may just be that the other 6 may not have considered it. So that's one of the things I must say that I saw coming out from the interaction, that persons were feeling a little more confident to share the minority view.
Yes. Now, is OTI hospitality assured? Is it?
Well,
Chris expected that question.
I mentioned in the beginning, there's no pressure here. You have the business advisor and a potential advisor here.
Assessor.
What I can say to you is, Mr. Williams, is, it's Sharon pointed it out before, it's a holistic approach. And I think the more we sensitize the people who work for us, from the gardener to the waiter to the housekeeper, the more we sensitize them on what we need to do as a team at this level, the better the result. And as I mentioned before, if the organizations out there, the businesses out there that really wants to go ahead and is really, really interested in getting ahead, they have to understand that those 9 principles, they are core principles that is going to help any and every organization to step ahead. So we have been doing a lot of work at the hotel. Unfortunately, with the passage of the 2 storms last year, it set us back a bit because we had some displacement of staff.
Yes.
We had to regroup and we had to re-strategize. We had Mrs. Roberts going back and forth, Sharon going back and forth. But I think we're in a position now where we have done a sufficient amount of work. It's never done, by the way. It's never finished. The job is never finished because it's, as Sharon pointed out, in 2 years' time you have to be reassessed. And we are looking forward to the assessor coming in and saying to us at the Ocean Terrace, saying that your team is very well fit, ready to take on the mantle of being a leader in St. Kitts in terms of the Hospitality Assured program.
Now, you are an assessor, Mr. Hanley.
Yes.
In your experience of assessment, you've done that in Nevis, right?
Well, I've worked closely with the properties that have been assessed. Incidentally, those properties were assessed by the facilitator for this present workshop. So I worked closely with her as she was doing the assessment. So that gave me a lot of insight into that process.
How many businesses in St. Kitts and Nevis, if we have that data, are hospitality assured
Well,
in the tourism?
Well, there are 3.
Only 3
To date.
Yes,
to date.
And one coming.
And one
soon.
coming,
And
one
and
coming
one
forward.
just-
So we have a long way to go. We have some way to go.
Well, that's why I presented the opportunity that CDB has allowed us. If you can meet the criteria as a business and your 50 employees or less or 50 rooms or less, to let the Ministry of Tourism know or let the Caribbean Tourism Organization know directly that you have an interest in your business going through this journey. Now, one of the things that we always want to be upfront about is it is a rigorous process, right, Chris? We don't hide this. It is not a walk
It's not rocket
down
science.
a fluffy road. But the but has to come here. Once you have the desire to be part of this program and to see what it could help your business to do, as Chris so rightly said, taking you from where you are to see improvements and the benefits that will come with that, you will look back at your journey and says, wow. But guess what? We now have a service quality management system in place that no one can take away. So, yes, it's rigorous, but it's very worth the journey that you go through. If I may speak on behalf of OTI.
I am looking at the program here, and I realize that you even have overnight assignment.
All the assignments, oh yes. Mr. Hanley will be able
remember
to
them
tell
very
you the training is also very rigorous. So not just the HA program in terms of the business going through the 9 steps and 44 criteria, but when we train support personnel, when we train persons to provide those services, those key services of business advisory services and assessment services, we take that process towards choosing the right people very seriously. So yes, there are 21 persons going through the program. We wish them all the very best, but there's no guarantee that they will all be successful
see.
as assessors, because there's a process that we are going through ourselves as the facilitators of assessing the participants, and then they have a final written assignment on Friday, and those things combined will allow us to make decisions about whether
see.
you go forward as an assessor. But Mr. Hanley will tell you there was no fun time after 6 o'clock and we finished class. It was homework time, preparing for the next day.
Well, except for the last day when we had the party.
Because it was all over, right?
Now, the certification that one receives is accredited to the Caribbean Tourism Organization.
In conjunction with the Institute of Hospitality in the UK. So
I
this
see.
is their program.
Right,
This
and
is their
basically it's their
standard.
franchise, yeah.
Right. So
Mhm.
we do it in conjunction with them. So the award to the business is the Institute
CTO
of Hospitality,
and
right?
the
and
UK,
correct.
the UK-based
Yes.
thing. Now, I think we have to go to the phone lines. Do you have to leave? Or you?
Well, one of the things I also want to add, just in conjunction, well, not conjunction, but just relating to what Sharon said a while ago. I think, I believe the program, for those 21 individuals locked in that room downstairs, OTI, I believe it is very, very rigorous. And, for me, having a business advisor as Mrs. Roberts, I can tell you, while sometimes I looked at the phone ringing and I know it's Mrs. Roberts calling and I know what she needs, and I think I must commend the organization for having persons like Mrs. Roberts invigilate and spend that amount of time with the businesses so we can get the results intended.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Our advisors are coaching and facilitating and guiding the businesses. They're not doing the work.
Right.
Mr. Jita and his team have to do the work,
I
but
see.
they're getting the guidance that they require to see them through that journey.
Right. Okay. Now, Mr. Hanley, I think that you having been through the program, you know how rigorous it is. You're now an assessor. What are you really doing to get more businesses certified?
All right. Well, let me start off by saying that as we touched on earlier, we have 3 properties on Nevis that are certified, and there are 3 hotels, by the way: Nisbet Plantation, Wally Beach Resort, and Nelson Spring. So, moving forward, we want to expand the class of business that we want to offer this program to. So we'll be targeting probably restaurants and other tourism and hospitality enterprises. We have been emphasizing all afternoon the rigors of the program, but we are also trying to get persons to understand the value to the business. But one of the things that the 3 businesses on Nevis identified as a benefit of going through the program is the importance of documentation.
Yes.
Because previous to their involvement in the Hospitality Assured program, they were very good at doing certain things, but they just never documented them or put a framework as such, a recognized framework for these business practices. And having gone through the program and recognized the importance of documentation, that is something that stayed with them and became part of the regular business practice. So these are some of the approaches that we're going to be using going forward.
And for some of these businesses who have been certified, they would know the ins and outs in terms of what is expected of them. But when they start to falter and all of that, what kind of support do they have?
When you say falter, you mean they have been certified?
They have
but
been certified.
How do we guarantee that they
But
are still able
keep
to
the standard.
Right. So those are the internal systems that would be built in once they have gone through the journey. It's part of the criteria. So it's a built-in thing. Once they have completed the journey, it's in their systems to continuously look at themselves and their performance. It will create a habit
Sure.
for them. And as I said, every 2 years we will come back and reassess to ensure that you can hold on to that hospitality assured certification, because after the first 2 years it expires, and we have to come back in, send in an assessor to reassess and to ensure
After
that
the 2
you are
years.
doing.
Yes.
And I will admit there has.
So you can have it today and tomorrow it can be taken away
But it is not if you're not keeping the systems
Yes.
going. But in the majority of cases, we have had, as I can only remember out of the 79, one situation where an assessor went back in, and it is not that their system is still not in place, it's in place, but they didn't show improvement, meaning to be reassessed 2 years later, there must be something you have added to what was done before. So it's not that they fall back
Yeah,
or they lapse,
yeah.
but they haven't moved a step forward.
Further.
And I just wanted to share this with you because I think this is also another powerful thing about this program. The documents that the business work with is the same document that the business advisor uses, is the same document that the assessor uses. I say that to say we are not trying to catch anybody out. We are all working towards the same goal.
Yes.
And so when you as a business receive your document and it says, spend some time doing a self-assessment. Before we even assess you, look at yourselves, look at what you're doing well. Also look at the areas for improvement within your business, because that's what the business has to do first, a self-review. That same document the business advisor has and will guide them through the process. The same rating system
Yes.
that the assessor will use is the rating system that the business is using to rate itself. So I'm saying this to say it's transparent. There are no surprises when the assessor comes in. It's the same documentation.
Right.
They just want to ensure that the evidence
It's
is
there.
there. That what you say you are doing,
You are doing.
you are doing.
By the evidence.
By the evidence. Exactly. That's exactly it.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Well, we have to go to the phone lines. And the numbers to call are 1-718-577-2916. That's the overseas number. And the local number is 465-2555. That is 465-2555. We welcome your calls. Sharon has to leave us because she has to go back to the workshop.
Yes.
We thank you so much for being here.
It has been my
and
pleasure.
sharing with us.
Thank you very much for having
And keep
me.
up the good work that you are doing.
Thank you. And we look
Okay.
forward to hearing from some businesses in St. Kitts and Nevis
Good.
before June 2018.
I hope so.
Thank you again.
You're most
Okay,
welcome.
Take care.
Mrs. Bryce Roberts, if you can share with us your experience with this workshop, Hospitality Assured Workshop. What has been your experience?
Well, I would have attended the Hospitality Assured Business Advisors program around 2-3 years ago in St. Vincent, just as we have in the assessors program here. There was one held in St. Vincent some years ago, which was quite rigorous also in terms of the assessment and the amount of homework and also the role plays that we had. And what we found, just as was mentioned with the assessors program, that at the end of the it was a week or two, I think it was about a week. At the end, one was not assured that you would be an advisor, because then you'd have the facilitator assessing, and so it was only afterwards that we would know whether or not we would have succeeded. So it is quite rigorous.
Okay.
The advantage, well, one of the things about the program, it also helps in terms of you building on whatever your own experience, okay? So while we would have gone through the various steps, as was mentioned by Ms. Banfield earlier, the whole idea is that it builds on our basic knowledge of business and service excellence. So it's more or less a continuity, I shall say, a continuing aspect.
Okay. Now, if you could tell us a little bit about your consultancy, because you are a consultant,
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm really in the business. I would say consulting, coach, motivating, really helping take businesses to another level.
Yes.
Helping individuals take steps towards taking themselves to another level. Because one of the things that is said is that organizations do not perform, people do. So while we speak about organizational performance, organizational development, bottom line, it's really individuals. And even as we were speaking earlier in terms of the whole concept of ownership and responsibility and involvement, so my role is both in terms of helping the individuals take responsibility, helping them, and also helping organizations to realize that the organizational culture that exists is very important in terms of the kind of performance that they're looking for.
We have someone working for you. Good afternoon.
A very pleasant afternoon
Working
to
for
you,
you.
sir. Good afternoon. A very pleasant afternoon to you and all your guests, especially Mr. Dieter, my compatriot. I would like to make a little contribution with respect to customer service. We have seen throughout the Caribbean that we have had quite a lot of problems with customer service in the region. And only yesterday I was speaking to someone who mentioned that poor customer service is one of the main reasons for the demise or the lack of progress of a particular hospitality institution here in the Federation. So I would like Mr. Dieter or any other of the panelists to expound a bit on the significance of customer service within the business sector, the hospitality industry especially, which we know requires a tremendous amount of very good customer service. When you walk into a lot of the business places in Kitts, and people look at it as just another stroll in, as opposed to trying to provide the best customer service to customers and sell and market their business, market the enterprise that they represent. And I do believe that a lot more can and should be done with respect to customer service training, especially for the small hotels, large hotels, all the hotels throughout the hospitality industry within the Federation, and all the other businesses, commercial businesses throughout St. Kitts and Nevis. So I would listen off here for their response. God bless.
Thank you.
You know, customer service can make or break your business, and it is never. There's no one-dimensional way of addressing this. Meaning, it takes training, it takes exposure, and far too often we take it for granted that the amount of training we do in-house is sufficient to drive the customer service focus that we intend to provide for our customers. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Or people, as often as we should, need the exposure to different cultures, to different facilitators, so that they can understand that, what they do actually, the result should be, the customer focus, and the customer should be totally satisfied. I've had experiences in St. Kitts where I've seen customer service at its best in some organizations. Today and tomorrow you go back to the same organization and it is a total different level of customer service you receive. But I also want to say to you that training is a key component, and I believe we have to join hands, not just with the vocational institutes. We have to join and partner with the Ministry of Tourism that does a tremendous amount of work with the school or the pilot programs in the schools. We have to ensure that employers budget sufficiently enough to not just train but to retrain and to refresh people in the organization so that the customer service can always be at its optimum. But it is in fact an aspect of the business that can make or break you, and it's something we have to continuously be working on. And there's no, as I said, one-dimensional way to approach it. We need a holistic approach, because the customer service, you don't just stop at the foot or the organization. in your homes, the supermarkets, the places you go, the places you visit, you have a responsibility to receive that level of service that should be given. So it's not just about the organization.
Here's another caller. Working for you, good afternoon.
Hello, coming to the program.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon, sir.
And good afternoon to your panelists here.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, customer service. Good topic. Now, to be truthful, I come up in all kind of different workplace. I do construction. I do farming. I work in the sugar industry. I work in a restaurant. I work in the hotel. The last place I work was in a hotel. And to be truthful, I come up from a very humbling family. And I work around a man named Mr. Steady Lamb. And I went nowhere to go train to work as customer service and nothing. But I used to work with a hotel, work by the front at night. And to be truthful, I get a lot of comments from tourists, visitors when they come in. And to be truthful, I'm not a professional on the job, but I try to do the job at my best, at my ability. My ability. But I believe that some of these young people now who go out there who work in on job site, I believe that the attitude comes from home. And as long as you don't train home, and you don't go to some training institution to train to meet people when you're working in a business place or whatsoever, you ain't going to get it out there. You're going to always out there with the attitude. And that is what happened to our people, especially some of our young people, even grown-up people. Sometimes they go in a business place, a hotel or a restaurant, and you're there waiting. Suppose they come meet you. Even in the supermarket, even in the stores, them. And I believe that is a thing that I believe that the government, what do you call it again? The working organization should look into that people qualified to go in these business places to work, because we get a lot of slackness. Even in government institution, sometimes we get up to this man was at the hospital, and the cashier have the manners to say that she go in and come back. When you look now, people they are waiting nearly half an hour before the cashier come back. And that is bad. You're paying money, you can walk off if you want to walk off. All right then, good program.
Mrs. Bryce Roberts, you probably would want to touch on some of those things.
Yes, I think the caller, I quite agree with the caller that much of the skills in terms of the attitude towards customer service starts at home. And to the extent that it is not done at home, that is where the organization now needs to come in and to help. One of the things I would say to people generally is that when we speak of customer service and we speak to the skills in terms of the interaction with persons, I think in a number of instances, if we are to give the customer service reps, the customer service providers a test, most likely persons will get anywhere from around 90 to 100% in terms of what is to be done. I think where people fall short is in doing what they know needs to be done when they do not feel like doing what they know needs to be done. And when I say that, I very often see this is where personal development, personal awareness comes in. I look at personal development, personal awareness as what I would say is the engine for performance. Because when I go to work and say, for instance, my manager may not have been as polite to me as a line staff as I feel he or she should be, what is going to stop me from passing that on to the external customer is who I am within. And so this is where I think our organizations need to recognize the importance of personal development programs, personal awareness programs. And my experience has been that a number of the organizations seem to think that personal development or personal awareness is the responsibility of the staff. And I'm saying, yes, it is, but the organization would also benefit from the individual being more personally aware. And so our organizations need to realize that for having customer service skills excellence, there is need for personal development, personal awareness.
The bottom line is basically you can't give what you don't have. And we need to take people from a place where they think that to serve is about servitude. To serve someone else doesn't make you a lesser person. But sometimes I believe that we think that in doing what we have to do, in serving, that we are demeaning ourselves.
And since you mentioned that, I remember many years ago when I did a customer service training program. That's well about probably 15 years or so ago. I remember there was a particular person who was working with a shoe store at the time. And when she came into the program, her reaction was something to the effect, she actually said something to the effect, oh, if they think I'm going to stay working at that shoe store all my life, they make a mistake, they're sending me on this program. I must say by the end of the program, she had a different tune. She realized that the customer service program was not just for the workshop, it was for life. It was a life development, life skills development program. And so as you say that for you to be able to give it out, you need to have it in. And I think this is where one needs to recognize that there is a responsibility of everybody, the individual included, the organization, to help put in those qualities. And it doesn't happen overnight, but gradually. Also linked to that is what I would speak to customer service management program for the CEOs, for the senior managers, because I think all too often when we have customer service program, it's about send them on training, send the line staff. But it is important, and this is the advantage of the Hospitality Assured program, which takes a systemic approach, that it goes through the organization systems and it looks at management overall. So it's not just training one person at the bottom, it's looking at how we do business. So this is where it's a holistic approach that needs to be taken to customer service for improvement in the organizations.
Right. And it's not about the fake smile, because people easily detect that.
Oh yes.
It's not about putting on a show either, but it's about being natural in terms of what you do, having your heart in what you do. Otherwise people will notice, well, this is not real, but you have to love what you do. If you love what you do, I think you will do it better.
And understanding the big picture. Understanding it's not I may be the cleaner, but I am very much into customer service, because if the place is dirty, persons will not want to come in. And I think that is the running thread that our organizations need to let each employee know, that he or she is very important to the survival of the business and to customer service excellence.
Right. I think one of the key principles in the Hospitality Assured program, principle number 2, where it speaks to the customer service promise. And again, I couldn't agree with Mrs. Roberts more, because that program is so dynamic. It takes a top-down, bottom-up approach. Everybody is supposed to sing the same song. When I listened to the very first caller, and it is a challenge. Some organizations they rely upon the vocational and the other external facilities to do the training, help people to develop their critical thinking skills, to resolve conflicts and so on and so forth. And they think, well, if I get somebody out of that institution, they would have already have those skills. But you get into the organization and you don't spend the time having the employee understand what are the values of the organization, what's the mission, what's the vision of the organization. You don't spend enough time having them understand how important the customer service expectations is. And they start faltering, and then there's another component. The training is not continuous, and hotels do have the problem, because it's the off season. We decide, this is when we're going to do training, and the in season, when we're making a lot of money, we don't concentrate on training. Guess what? the hotel is still running. The people who's coming in season might be paying you more money than the people in the off season. So you have a responsibility to make sure the training is continuous. However you design it, it has to be continuous, it has to be full-fledged, and everyone has to feel empowered at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we're out of time. Is there anything else you would like to say before we leave?
This program, the Hospitality Assured program, it is a key component of any business, any organization. And if you're interested in moving forward, taking your game to the next level, you need to be a part of that program, because all those 9 principles, they touch on every aspect of the business. And everyone at the end of the day, if they are involved in such a program, the service values and the mission is clearly defined. Mm-hmm. And your business can only grow from strength to strength with people, importantly.
And I say amen to what Mr. Jeter has said. And even if persons go, and I really strongly recommend persons to be involved in the Hospitality Assured program. And even if one does not go right through with certification, because like it was mentioned, it's rigorous, I think the discipline of documentation, the discipline of taking a holistic approach, the discipline of systems integration would benefit any organization.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, Mrs. Bryce Roberts, we want to thank you so much for being here and sharing with us about the importance of, how we can develop our businesses, especially within the hospitality and the tourism sector, but really based on the customers, perspective, and how we can improve to benefit the customer, and in that way we'll strengthen our business.
Indeed.
I want to thank you as well, Mr. Jeter, the General Manager of the Ocean Terrace Inn. How long have you been General Manager there?
2 years and 4 months.
2 months. 2
years and 4
2 years and 4 months. Okay. We also thank Mrs. Sharon Banfield Bovell, who left us to go back to the workshop earlier. She is the co-facilitator and regional human resource development consultant at the Caribbean Tourism Organization. That is the CTO. We thank her very much for what she shared on today's program. And Mr. John Hanley, who is the acting permanent secretary in the Nevis Ministry of Tourism. We thank them very much. And also we cannot forget, and Mrs. Bofield emphasized the Caribbean Development Bank that is really supporting and sponsoring the Hospitality Assured Caribbean Certification Program. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to today's program. I want to thank our callers. We appreciate you very much from week to week. We will be back next week for another edition of Working for You. I am your host, Lesroy Williams. Have a good day and see you next week.
Working for You. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Lesroy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for You is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcasts on participating stations. Working for You.